Turn the bass up.
I got the profit up. I always double up. It ain't nothing, bro. It ain't nothing, bro.
Batman and Robin, Battle of the Super Sons. When I heard that this movie was coming out, I got super excited, but I've been a longtime fan of both Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne. So to see them in their own movie, I was like, this is going to be the bee's knees. But then life happened, moved, I didn't get a chance to sit down and watch it. So finally did. And I like what they did, though. I wish that they would have followed what Dan Jurgens and Peter J. Tomasi did with the comics. So the movie in and of itself. Jonathan Kent is an angsty teenager who thinks his dad spends too much time, quote unquote, on investigative reporting, even though he thinks it's kind of boring, and he thinks that mom's reporting is also not that great as well. He's very much in that teen thing where he wants to be his own person, wants attention from his dad, but his dad is not around no matter how much Clark tries to be, until his powers manifest and he realizes he is the son of Superman, which has a very great emotional bonding moment. Now, cinematic-wise, I can see they went this route. But before we get into the movie, let me give some context to why I wish they would have followed the comics. So in 2015, during the New 52, DC released Superman, Lois and Clark. It was written by Dan Jurgens. And this shows how the original, I guess you'd say, Earth 1 Superman came into the New 52 universe. And what he's doing is him and Lois have changed their names to White to kind of give an homage to Perry White, because they don't want people to connect him with this world's Lois Lane and Clark Kent. And so he wears this really cool black uniform that's akin to the reign of the Superman. And he's trying to take out threats that would otherwise harm this young New 52 Superman. He tries to save Hank Henshaw so he doesn't become the cyborg Superman. Things like that. So he's trying to work in the background, under the radar. Lois is going up against this international terrorism called the Intergang, and John is actually working with her. And he's young. He's not a teenager yet. He's probably like 10 or 11 at this point. And he's into it. He loves the family loves each other, and it's very sweet. At the end of the series, he comes to find out that his father's Superman, and he can't wait to walk into his steps as he starts to manifest powers. This leads into DC Rebirth, where the New 50 Superman tragically passed away, and the Earths kind of merge and all this good stuff, and Earth 1 Superman is back in place as the main character. So this leads us into the 2017 two-part miniseries in the Volume 4 of Superman issues 10 and 11 by Tomasi, and it's called In the Name of the Father, World's Smallest. And this is where Damian and Jonathan Kent cross paths, and Damian does not like this kid. He spies on him and just puts him through the ringer, and Jonathan's like, what are you doing at my school dressed up like that? And Robin just blatantly says, I'm here to see how the other half lives. And they kind of touch on this in the movie, but Robin in this, they have to kind of keep in line with what the animated series has done. So Robin's barely, or Damian, should I say, is barely out of the League of Assassins, so he's a lot nastier and whatnot, even though I love the little homage to Grant Morrison's Batman, Batman Inc., where they save Bat-Cow. Bat-Cow makes an appearance in the movie. That's awesome. But anyway, they kind of find out that they do work well together, and they start to create this friendship. But they have a hard time working with each other. They're constantly bickering because John doesn't understand why Damian's such a little turd, and Damian thinks he's just too Boy Scout like his father. And Bruce and Clark are just kind of sitting on the sidelines trying to train their sons, and they just see too much of each other, and both of them, they're just like, Now, some other cool things about the comics is they have a character that Damian trained in the League of Assassins called Goliath. And so he makes an appearance. He's this big flying dragon thing, and a great character. And then also Maya Ducard. She is nobody. Her father was an assassin, killed people for money, tried to turn Damian against Batman during Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman run. And after he passes away, Maya takes up the mantle, and Damian tries to kind of lead her towards the side of good. And she actually tries to help Clark and Bruce train these kids, and she becomes an integral part of the Super Sons team. And there was so much potential, and it kills me that they essentially canceled the series so that Brian Michael Bendis could do what he wanted with the Kent family, and that's how we got the disappearance of Jonathan Kent for a long time, and then he came back as a teenager, which just really killed that Damian Jonathan Kent dynamic. So that killed me. But anyway, that's kind of the short and skinny of the comic series that inspired this movie. So it was directed by Matt Peters, screenplay by Jeremy Adams, and yeah, like I was saying, Jonathan is already an angsty teen, but the emotional resonance when he finally figures out why his dad is always gone, it really impacts cinematically. The same with Damian. It made sense for him coming right out of the League of Assassins and having to soften himself up, and to see these two finally become friends. And the choice of villain, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, but they go back to the well of Kal-El coming from Krypton, and there's a certain beast that we all have seen through the decades of DC Comics that hitches a ride on Baby Kent's shuttle and just becomes a threat as Jonathan Kent comes of age and starts to develop all of his powers. I would love to see a follow-up to this because they kind of leave it open-ended and just showed how well these two work together against the Teen Titans and against the entire Justice League, Martian Manhunter included. It was something to behold. The animation style is really cool. It kind of reminded me of Patrick Gleason's art style on Super Sons and Superman. It just added this little human element to it. And it really ignites why you love Superman. Not because he's this big, strong man of steel. It's that he is this man of steel that can flick the earth out of orbit if he wanted. But he wants to be an example to show people a better future. And that son, Jonathan, follows that same direction. And you can start to see how he starts to rub off on Damian, start to see the soft side, just how like Clark rubbed off on Batman a little bit, but yet they're still able to complement one another. Absolutely awesome film. If you haven't read the comic series, I highly recommend it. And once I get things more unpacked, I plan to go through those books because every time I see them or I see little bits about them, I've got to read them. So let me know, what did you guys think of Battle of the Super Sons? Let me know down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this review, I really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit that little super bell next to subscribe. That way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day viewing and reading, and happy watching, everyone.